Okay, class. Today we're doing Module 2 functions, F.BF.3, levels 1 through 3 Reteach. Let's kind of go over some things. When you see a vertical compression, we know it's going to be fractions. And if it's a vertical stretch, we know it's going to be a whole number. Suppose 2, 3 is a point on the graph of y equals f of x. Name the point after the transformation and describe the transformation. Y equals f of x. So we see the 4 on the outside. So we know it's going to be a vertical stretch because the 4 is on the outside. So how do we know it's going to be a vertical stretch by a factor of 4? So we know we're going to have to change the y value. So what we're going to do on the y value is that we need to take 3 times 4, which equals 12. So our order pair would be 2, 12. So let's take a look at the next one. First of all, I see a negative. So that means it's going to be a reflection over the x-axis. It's also a vertical stretch, but this time we're going to multiply it by 2. So we're going to take the 3 and we're going to times it by a negative 2 because of the reflection. So we're going to get a negative 6. So our answer would then be, reflection over it would be 2, negative 6. Now this is a transformation. We know it's going to be translated. We know that this is always the x value, this is always the y value. So we know it's always the opposite. So if I say plus 3, I really am meaning minus 3. So this is a horizontal translation, 3 left because it's the opposite, and then minus 2, that doesn't change, so we're just going to go down 2. So what we're going to do with our numbers is we're going to go 2 minus 3, which equals negative 1. Put the 2 from here, and then we're going to take the negative 2, and we have to go minus negative 2 plus 3, because that's where we got this over here, and we're going to get, it's going to equal 1. So our order pair would be negative 1, 1. Now this one's pretty easy. It's just the y value. So in this y value, that means we're going to be vertical translating for 2 units down. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to leave the x value alone, and all we have to do is take a 3 minus 5, which equals negative 2. So we'll get 2, negative 2. So let's move on. So we're taking a look at the graphs. So if you take a look at this graph right here, first of all, we know it's a vertical translation up because we went up 3. 1, 2, 3. We also know that it is going over. If you take a look here, it looks like we're going up and over. It looks like we're going up and over by a half. So our A would be a half. But we have to take the reverse of that. We take the reciprocal of that, and that's going to mean that we are vertically translating 3 up and a vertical compression of 2 because we have to take the reverse. We take the reciprocal. So by the factor of 2. So taking a look at this one is a reflection over the x-axis. That's the first thing we do. We know it's a reflection over the x-axis. We also know that we went down 1, 2, 3. So we went down 1, 2, 3. And we also went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I would say it's a reflection over the x-axis and a vertical trans 3 down and a horizontal trans 5 right. This is a square root. So if you take a look at this, I see that that's a negative sign. So I'm going to say it's reflection over the x-axis. We know that this is the x and the y. It's always the opposite for the x. The y stays the same. So I would say it's a reflection over the x-axis. It's a horizontal translation 4 right because it's the opposite of minus, and a vertical translation 3 up. This one is a quadratic. We know that this is x and y. X again is always opposite. I see that I have a 5 on the outside. It's a whole number, so we know it's going to be a vertical stretch. We also know that it's going to be a horizontal trans 2 right and 11 down. So let's take a look at the next ones. We have a quadratic function over the x-axis, a vertical translation 2 up, a horizontal translation 3 left. So if I take a look at this, we know that it's going to be an x. We're going to have an x here. We know it's a 2 up, so we know it's going to be a +2, and it's a horizontal translation 3 left, which means it's going to be the opposite. If it's left, we really know it's going to be positive. So how would I write that? I don't have an a, so all I know about my a is that it's negative. So I have an x, I have an h, that is my horizontal translation, so I'm going to put a +3. I'm going to put my 2, and then I'm going to write +2. So there's my answer. Taking a look at this, a vertical compression by a factor of 4. So if it's compression, we know it's a factor of 4. We know it's going to be the reciprocal, like I said over here. So if it's a compression, it's always the reciprocal. So if it's a 4, instead of like we had a 2, we started off as 1/2, but then we had to go back to a 2. So it's going to be 1/4, and it's a translation 7 down. So how would I write that? That would give me my m. This would be my b. So I would write 1/4 x minus 7. So we have an absolute value. So here's the parent function. We have a reflection over the x. We have a vertical stretch by 3. So that would be my a equals. We have a translation 4 units left. So that's going to be the opposite, because it's left and right is always opposite. So it's going to be a +4, and we translate 5 down. So when I write it up, I'm going to write a -3x, and then I'm going to write +4, because of the opposite, -5. And finally, we have the square root. It's stretched vertically by a factor of 4, and translate 3 left 3 units. So it's going to be +3 and up 5. So on this one, I'm going to do y. I have my a, which is 4. That's going to go on the outside. I have x +3, and then I'm going to have +5. Thanks for listening, and have a good day. Thank you.